Okay, so when we start stepping deeper and deeper into our power, other people feel that, right? Your power, your personal power is a frequency that is undeniable. And what happens, and this is tied into the witch wound, meaning where, we carry cellular memory within, or we carry, memory within our DNA of times when we were very powerful as women, but not just women, witches, soothsayers, seers, prophets, medicine women, midwives, anything that somebody saw as like, wow, this person has special powers. They're able to cure people. They're able to conjure things, insert whatever. And so, we have memory in our body of any time that we rose up in our power, whether this is expressing our truth, raising our voice, being creative, having sexual power, that we were either killed or, we had to tell others, if we knew of other people that had these powers, we were silenced, or we're taught to be silenced because it meant your life, right? So all of this is carried within our DNA. It's very, very primal, and it's very unconscious. And so there still is this programming where, and this conditioning and this memory that if we rise in our power, that somehow, either, that power is going to get taken away, we're going to get hurt, somebody in our family is going to get hurt, all of these different things. And so, what happens then is we'll start getting momentum in our personal power, moving out of our comfort zone, doing things, and then things will start getting shaky, right? We'll start feeling chaos, as other people feel that. And here's the thing, and this is primarily what happens, is when you start tapping into your power, other people feel that, and they can get triggered because it forces them to look at themselves and to feel into the places where they're not owning their power. So I'm going to say that again. When you start to raise in your power, there's this zone that you'll start to feel that you have to be able to hold and maintain your power while everything around you starts feeling a little bit chaotic, and other people's quote unquote, feathers might get ruffled, or, other people get triggered by your power. You have to be able to be unshakable, to maintain your personal power and not see, because what the pattern is a lot of people, when they start raising up into their power, is that they will, once things start getting shaky and they see that, oh, I'm triggering somebody, and usually it's people that are really, really closest to us, because people like the same. It makes, most people like things to stay the same. When things start changing and somebody else that you're really close to starts changing, you're kind of like, oh, well, they don't feel in control. So this will bring up a lot of control issues, especially if you, if the people that you're surrounded with, have control issues. That's like, it's going to ring all of their fucking bells, and they will do, and it's unconscious, they will do whatever it takes to try to get you to fit back inside their box of who they think you need to be and what makes them feel safe. And a lot of times, there's also conditioning and programming where, especially between parents and children, when the children start going further than the parents have gone in their life, subconsciously, parents will make that mean something about them, right? They're like, oh, I see my child is going further than me, and that means something about me, right? Like, I'm not X, Y, and Z, I'm not good enough, why didn't I, do what I wanted to do? Why did I give up on my dreams? Like all of these different things. And it's subconscious. So you have to, when this starts happening, it's so important that you have so much grace, that you give yourself so much grace, and you give the people around you so much grace, but without compensating, without over sacrificing, without over giving, without compromising your personal truth in order to make somebody else feel comfortable. Okay? So that is what the essence of HD frequencies, this module, is all about. It's a play on words. It does have to do with the human design. And I'm going to go into that in just a moment, why we're using human design, for this purpose. But high definition, right, is about clarity. It's about when something is in high definition, it's very clear. It's very visible. This person is clearly defined, what their borders are, what their boundaries are, what they stand for, their power, where they begin and where they end. Meaning, what is them and what isn't them. Okay, so this is the whole essence of this high definition. And a way that I have found to be incredibly powerful to do this is when we really sink deeper into our design and into our authenticity, our authority. We know who we are. What happens is I'm going to get to your comments in just a moment. Our frequency raises. Okay? And so I'm going to get to these comments, and then what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you some prompts before we really dive into it. So I just gave you an intro of, what this module is for, and so that you'll be able to, when you start experiencing, and a lot of times this is when we're ready to up level, right? We're really coming into our power. We're ready to go to another level. Then things start to get the axis of creativity. To be a creator is like, that's the most powerful thing that you could be, to create your own reality, right? But there is always chaos. It's like two sides of the same pole, creativity and chaos, right? In order to create, something must be destroyed. And so the old version of you must be destroyed. And what that means as well is all of the relationships that we're in, people that are used to us being a certain way, right? That also gets destroyed. And it doesn't mean that the relationship has to end. It just means who you are being in relationship to other people has to end in order for that creation to fully be born and to fully come into the material realm, okay? So, okay. Jealous you got a shower. I'm dying to get one. That's why I reached out for support. Yeah, she says she is just trying to help me. She knows all about business and marketing. She could help if I would listen. I'm like, you worked in corporate America. Okay, so like, here's the thing is, if she's telling you that you won't listen, right? Not chances, but how do I say this, right? Like, if you were 110% solid and owning your personal authority in what you were doing, you would not be getting that feedback. Okay? The reason you're getting that feedback is because you're not 110% in your personal authority. Okay? That doesn't mean that it's good, and it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means this is a place for you to get even more clear, for you to own your power even more, right? And this isn't, if somebody's going to share with us, we listen to other people and we can take their feedback, right? And, oh, that's interesting. Let me think about that kind of vibe, and you make your own decision about what is right for you, because it's what you know inside. There's a knowing that you will have of what's right for you. And, and as a mother, like if I put myself in her position, like seeing her daughter, share something that, she wants to protect you, right? And she has her own viewpoints, her own ideas, her own, what may be right for her may not be right for you. And it gets tricky, especially with these relationships that are very, very close, especially mother and child, right? Because a lot of times there's a lot of projection that's happening. And especially because you are a 5-2, that is, part of your human design is about projection. You are a mirror. Your role as a 5-2 is to hold the mirror for people. And so what happens with the 5-2 profile is a lot of times you get projected upon by other people, and you also project your own things onto other people. And so doing mirror work and getting super, super clear on, am I projecting something onto somebody? Is somebody else projecting something onto me? That is your work of this lifetime, okay? So, because she says always pushes the recovery button, that I look high or sound high. Yeah, there definitely is an art to when we're wanting, when we're seeing like how somebody could make something better, in order to not, and so this is going, for you, in not being sensitive to criticism, right? Because that's a thing as well, especially with the 5-2 profile, is that's something that you're going to have to get solid on within you, like solid within all of those triggers, so, and if that criticism is coming up for you, where you're feeling that you're being criticized, hold up that mirror. And I invite you to look at, where am I being critical of myself? What is, have I been talking down to myself? Have I been being overly hard on myself? Have I been beating myself up? Chastising myself? Because here's the mirror, right? The mom showing you what you may not be seeing about yourself. And that's that 2 line. The 5 is the conscious line. The 2 is the unconscious line. And the 2 line is all about, it's a blind spot. If you have, especially anybody with a 2 line in their main profile, or if they have a lot of 2s in the rest of their chart, right? There's blind spots. This is like, it's where you have to do so much work in being able to see yourself, because that's the natural thing, is that you don't see yourself. And that means it's very easy for you to not see your talents and not realize how talented you are and the gifts that you have. And also at the same time, not see where you're in the wrong, quote unquote, or where you're not seeing your part in a scenario, not seeing how you've created the situation. So I don't want to go into any more of this, because I want to get to HD frequencies, okay? So right now, what I want you to just take a couple of deep breaths. And so, this is you really tuning into your frequency, your unique frequency. There is nobody in the world like you. And for where you are at right now, in order for you to step into this next level version of yourself, to fully embody the name and claim that you set at the beginning of this course, what are you ready to release? So meaning, you know, your name and claim, right? What, and so that level version of you, there's certain things about you right now that need to go in order for you to be that next level version of you, because that next level version of you isn't doing the things that you're doing now. There's things that you're doing that are different, and there's things that they're just not a part of who you are. It's not. And that's actually like the biggest part of when we say, like, I want this, you know, I want to make this much money, or I want to look like this, I want my body to look this way, or I want to have this kind of relationship, right? There's things that we're going to have to let go of in order, that's in the way, right? It's like the blocks, the veils, the Maya, all of these things and these behaviors that are not in alignment with that next level version of you. So what are those things? And so here's the question that you're going to ask yourself. I am ready to release. What are you ready to release? And you know what it is. You shouldn't have to think, I don't want to say shouldn't, but most likely, you know what it is. So, what are you ready to release? Okay, so let's get clearer. I'm ready to release fear. Release fear of what? What's the fear? Okay. Excellent. And now, what gift or talent are you ready to fully own? Coaching. Excellent. Okay. All right. So when we are emitting a low frequency, it's because we are in fear. Okay? There's either two things going on. We're either in love, in self-love, right? Where we're magnetic, right? We're in this high frequency, the magnetism is going on, right? And we're incredibly magnetic. We're magnetic to all of our desires. But when we're operating at a low frequency, this is because we have allowed ourselves to feel limited in some way. And that's always the telltale sign, is whenever you're feeling limited. And the only reason why we ever feel limited, though, is because the mind tricks us into thinking we're limited. Because the truth is that we are infinite, right? But the mind, for the purpose of wanting us to stay safe, will trick us into feeling we're limited, meaning we don't have enough of something. Okay, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's, material things, the mind will literally, so you'll know when you're when you're operating at a low frequency, when you're feeling limited. And the reason that we get, is because we disconnect from the truth. We disconnect from our self-love. We disconnect from our truth. And it's usually out of fear of judgment, or of judgment of some kind, right? So meaning we're afraid that, so when we're not fully expressed, when we're not in our authenticity and truth, the reason why we're not is because we're fear of being judged or not being loved, or, of not, that we're going to, right? So, and then what happens is that we will actually change our behavior, right, to not be judged. So we'll actually do things that aren't authentic to us in order to not get judged, in order to not piss somebody off, in order to not, have somebody, not reject us, right, or something like that. And then what will happen is this will take us down a path of resistance. And that's like the second sign that you know that you're operating in a low frequency, is number one, you'll feel limited. And then number two, you'll be doing things and finding that there's all of this resistance on your path. Like everything is hard, everything's going the wrong way. I'm feeling like there's constantly obstacles in my path. And there's a difference between obstacles being in your path that feel fun, that feel like, I can do it, right? Like there's a different vibe. When Mars, which is about personal power, is operating, it doesn't mean that things there aren't going to be obstacles in your path, but you're not going to feel like you're incapable. It's actually going to feel fun. It's going to feel like, let me see if I can do it. Let me see if I can take this leap. Let me see if I can jump over the thing. Let me see, you know what I mean? It's like, it's exciting, as opposed to, it's like, this fucking thing happened, or this person did this, or, or this always happens to me, or, you know what I mean? It's a different vibe. It'll feel hard. It'll feel like resistance. And so these 2 points are so important for you to become to catch yourself. Because the sooner that you catch yourself, you'll know, I'm out of alignment. I'm operating at a low frequency. And it's like your number one job is to get back into alignment, to get back into the high frequency, and to ask yourself, where was I not being authentic? Where did I give over my power? Where did I do something counter to what I really wanted to do? Where did I not say what I wanted to say, the way I wanted to say it, whatever it may be, right? And you really want to start, catching yourself, because it's about these small 1-degree shifts that they're small right here in the moment, but when you look out at the big game, when you look out over the long-term progression of your life, your long-term goals, those small little degree shifts, they're small here, but out there, they're huge. Okay? So, and the other thing that I want to say to this is a lot of times what comes with the low frequency is over-giving and over-sacrificing against our own happiness. We'll overextend, we'll over-give, or we'll be overly sacrificing against our own happiness because we're trying to get something else, usually, in exchange, right? If I'm going to give more than actually what makes me feel good, it's because I'm trying to get something else, whether I'm trying to get validation, or I'm trying to get accepted, or I'm trying to feel worthy, or I'm trying to feel loved, so I'm willing to give and overgive because I really want that, right? And so you got to catch yourself, because that's where we sell out, right? That's where we're not being authentic, okay? We're being manipulative with our energy in a way that is not in alignment. It's counterproductive. in the long term. Okay. So this is when we're in our low frequency. And so we want to like let all of that go, right? And really watch ourselves every single day, you know, as to when we're operating in a low frequency, you know, and start noticing, you know, who do I do it with? You know, when does it come up, right? So that we can catch it, right? And it doesn't continue on and we start, you know, going down a path of resistance, you know, until we're like totally burned out and we're like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I'm in a fucking shithole now. But it was like, because you didn't catch it in the early stages. Okay. So now, do you have any questions about what I just said? Okay, so this next part is about how we raise our frequency, okay? So the way that we raise our frequency is we are in our hearts. We're connected to our desires. We're connected to love. We're connected to our, you know, our dreams, okay? So in the center, in the G center, in your human design, your human design is what is called the G center, okay? And there is what's called a magnetic monopole, okay? Meaning where it's one pole, mono meaning one, so it's only in one direction. And what that does is it creates, whenever we have a desire or a dream, right? There's like, you know that the invisible thread they talk about, like, or the red thread that connects people that are meant to meet. It's like, it's the thread of destiny. When you have a dream or a desire, what happens is we get connected through the magnetic monopole. There's there's a cord, right? There's a thread that connects us literally to our desires. And we become magnetic to it, okay? And so this all starts in the G center, okay, which is all about self-love, and it's also about our direction, right? It's going to direct us where we need to go in order to connect to our dreams, okay? So when we raise our frequency, what happens is we're closing the gap on what it is that, where we're at and what it is that we desire. So the higher your frequency gets, your personal power, right, grows, and you're closing that gap between where you are and where, you know, you actually getting, you know, in the material realm, right, closer to what it is that you desire. Okay? So now the way that this goes, right, is that, you know, there's a lot of programming and there's a lot of conditioning, right, that we have against what it is that we desire, right, where we actually can be scared and we can feel fearful of what it is that we want. So, and to me, it feels like this. To me, our desires, right? Like when we're in a low frequency, it feels like they're scary. You know, it's like, oh, I shouldn't want that, right? Because if I want that, then it's going to create all of this other chaos and it's going to create all of these other problems, or, you know, there's something scary about it, right? But the higher our frequency is, when we think about what it is that we desire, it's effortless. Right? It's effortless for us to take the actions and do the things, you know, that will close that gap. So that's another way of like telling where you're at in relationship to what it is that you want. So this is something that you also want to start checking yourself in, is how often are you really like thinking about what it is that you want and taking the action steps towards it, especially the ones that you might feel scared about, right? You kind of put you go back into the comfort zone, you go back into the fear, you know, of being, you know, that version of you that has what you want. Okay? Okay. So